Kassandra, we come to this day in love and enlightened in truth. This is acceptable to you.
Yes.
Good. So we asked to do this communication to simply herald in this new year of 2023. As we do every year, we would like to just give an overview of what we feel will be the theme of the year. Last year we said it was the year of creation. And of course, a lot of things were created. But what we were mostly referring to is the individual understanding that they are the creators of their own reality. And a lot of people began to realize this. So when we say the year of creation, it doesn't necessarily mean, as we've said many times, you get out your Christmas list and you ask Santa for everything that you want because you feel there's something missing in your life. No, it is a time to understand that you are all creators of the reality in which you live, and many of you that are listening to this created your own reality, and you released the obstruction to that. So, yes, it was a tough year in being faced with things that you were afraid of, faced with worries and concerns, but having to find out where does this come from and release it, thus making you a creator of your own reality when you understand that whatever the circumstances that you are currently living in, you have the ability to change and create it into something new. That's why it was the year of creation. And 2023, it's a 7 year. 7 is often referred to as the number of Christ, the key to heaven. The key to heaven. Interesting number. So what does that mean? The key to your own truth and freedom. So this year is mostly about truth and freedom within yourself, which of course then happens externally. So what you're going to witness is discovering what is your truth? What are you really about? What do you really, really want? Because it's not money to get to have power over. It's perhaps money to have freedom. So when you get honest about why you want it, that's the truth. When you're honest at your own motivations, your own desires, then your ability to create becomes even more deeply empowered. But the biggest understanding, remember it's a year of a 7, unlocking the key to heaven, meaning that if you are in alignment with God's will, you are in alignment with your own. So it's really about surrendering. Surrendering your will. In this planet, you have what you call free will. Well, it's not just on planet Earth, although some say it is. It's not. It's on many, many planets. It's a vibration of free will. The frequency of free will resides in the lower dimensional realities. And it does that for a reason. Because it gives you a choice to choose which side you want to align with. You have free will to choose dark or light. You have free will to choose whether you are, supposedly you have free will to choose where you live, who you occupy your home with, etc. But do you? Right? So the whole concept of free will, which is your own deep internal truth, is going to be challenged big time in this year 2023. And what you'll understand is that unlocking your free will is also placing you into divine alignment with God's will, because you begin to understand there is nothing that happens within the universe or all of creation without the frequency of God's blessing. Whether you consider it to be dark or light, good or bad, right, wrong, it's still under God's blessing. If you choose to go down the dark side of yourself, which is envy, jealousy, hate, anger, all of these things, you do so with God's blessing because God understands there's something for you to learn about it. But you also understand that you are still remaining in the lower dimensional realities in which free will is only in your perception pertaining to yourself. When you understand that if you can surrender your will to God's will, in other words, God, where would you have me be today? What would you have me say today? Who would you have me help today? What can I do, God, to make this world a better place, not just for myself, but for everyone? Because understanding the key to God is to understand that you are all connected and everything you do must be coming from the desire, the honesty to want to create a better world for everyone, not just yourself. So in previous times, to have money to make your life better, to have money to give yourself more power, to have money to give yourself prestige, honor. Look at these wealthy people handing out accolades, awards to each other so that they can dress up and have a fancy meal and be on the TV and have some sort of award given to them. For what? For what? Because they have a certain amount of money in which they create a foundation in which they give the money back to themselves. It's hideous what you are as a planet admiring. False gods. It's false gods. What you're going to discover this year, remember the key to heaven, 7, the key to heaven is you will understand what those 10 commandments were about. We're not speaking of religion. Religion is perhaps one of the biggest failings of the planet. And there will be many in this year turning to religion because they desire the connection to that key to heaven, to God. Without understanding, you all have it internally, independent of a church or religion, or a priest or an imam or a monk. The kingdom of heaven lies within you. You can speak directly to God, and this will be your understanding. You do not need a church to tell you the rules in which to live by, because the church, regardless of what it is, whether it's Islam, whether it's Catholic, born again, Protestant, Buddhism, any religion, you do not need them to tell you the rules to live by, because those rules have been altered, perversed, changed. And the truth around religion will come to the forefront this year, because this is the year that you unlock your own divinity, your own truth. It's very important. So we would suggest that when you look at the precepts or the 10 commandments or whatever religion you want to go into that gives you some sort of guidelines, don't look at it from what they're telling you. Feel it in your heart. Know it as your truth, because every single soul that enters a physical body understands innately the fundamental truth of universal laws, God's laws. And God is not one person lording it over everyone. No. It's a consciousness. And within that consciousness is all truth. And there are many that guide that consciousness, such as Jesus Christ. So when you talk about the Antichrist, that Christ will be reborn, and then the Antichrist, what they're talking about is a consciousness. They're not talking about one person. So let's get that very clear. It resides within you. Whether you want to align to the Antichrist or to the Christ consciousness, it's entirely up to you. You have free will. This year is the year that you surrender that will to God, meaning you choose. We said this in the previous channeling, which we didn't put on these platforms, but we said it's a time for choice. We talked about the period of grace being over. What's the period of grace mean? End of karma. So beware of any karma that you have. What releases karma? Forgiveness. There is a point to what is happening on the planet. If you want to go into 5D, which is the bridge to the upper cycles, then you need to make that choice, but you also are required to surrender to God's will, not your own. Because your own will is allowing you to make decisions that are against humanity. Right? Oh, I'm following the rules. I'm being a good citizen. I'm doing what the doctor told me. I'm doing what the government told me. I'm doing what the teacher taught me. I'm doing this. I'm such a good person. I'm so pious because of my religion. Rules, rules, rules that go against God, that go against your own self, your own inner knowing, that are continuing to separate you from God. Well, as we said, many will turn to religion, but they will not find what they're seeking in religion. Yeah, they'll find other people also searching, and those people are good people. But when you have those in religion saying, I'm a prophet, so, and I'm talking directly to God, but that person over there that's a healer, that is a channeler, etc., they're the devil themselves. And what do they know of that person? They never met that person. They don't know if that person is divinely connected, more powerfully to God than they could ever be. But they are willing to what? Be a heretic and say, this is a witch, burn it, kill it. The whole thing is stupid. And it's limited. It's very limited. And yet you have those in, let's say, the field of consciousness that deny God and promote selfishness, desire, hunger for money, for control, for power. Look at me, how wonderful I manifest. I'm so powerful. I'm connected to God. Well, if the manifestation is all about yourself, then you're not connected to God at all. You're connected to something, but it certainly isn't God. And if you look at those who are in positions of influence, you will see, yeah, they've got a lot of money and they've got a lot of power, but they are certainly not connected to any God that we know. They're connected to demons that tell them they are gods. So they appease their egos and allow more of the devil to anchor. There is a fight coming between the dark and the light that will happen on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, and spiritually. It's already started. It's going to get a lot darker, the fight. However, if you have surrendered your will to God's will, you have nothing to worry about. All that you need will be granted. Not because you demanded it or commanded it, but because God wants to place you in a position to help. So you're unlocking the kingdom of heaven within yourself, the truth about yourselves. You have heard stories of being the master race. These stories are true. Everything has an essence of truth. When you hear different people speaking about, well, Atlantis or Lemuria or, different levels of star seeds, etc. It's all true. Unfortunately, some people who communicate that say this is the only truth. It's not. There are many truths within the universe. There are those that are telling you great catastrophe will happen. This, huge catastrophes will happen. Why are they saying this? Because they are remembering their own past lives on Orion and other planets. So they believe that Earth is going to have the same thing happen. So they are predicting this. Will it happen? Well, that depends on the consciousness. If you all agree it's going to happen, then probably it will happen because you're all agreeing upon it and you're all co-creating it. You're understanding that you are creators. Therefore, anyone you listen to, that you align to, you are helping them to co-create. So be aware of who you're listening to, what you're listening to. You can listen to darkness and then perceive it as darkness and say to yourself, okay, that doesn't fit right with me, so maybe I need to be a counter energy to prevent this from happening. And people might say, why are you listening to that? You're so negative. Why are you listening to that? Just keep away from that. But maybe you're the counterforce to that negativity. And that's why you're being drawn to listen to it. Doesn't necessarily mean you believe it. But many are afraid to listen to it, and then they're judging people who are listening to it because they're saying, well, you're making it happen. Stop with the fear. There are those that are more than capable of listening to it and counterbalancing its promise of reality. So this is very important that you understand. You are the kingdom. The kingdom is going to be knocking on your very, it's not your soul it's knocking on. It's your mind. It's your emotions. It's your physical reality it's knocking on. Your soul, your spirit is the doorway to it. Listen to that, not to everything else. So we're going to just go back to these commandments. One of the commandments is do not covet, your neighbor's wife, etc. What does that mean? It means don't be jealous. Don't be envious of what other people have. Don't try to emulate what other people have. Don't try to get what other people have because you feel they have more than you. Because what you're doing is you're aligning with that person's reality, and all you're doing is feeding them more energy to create what they want. And this has been going on for centuries. How much energy have you given away to those leaders, those teachers, those famous people that you think is going to entitle you to what they have, that you're going to get what they have because they have the golden rule on how to obtain it, when all you're really doing is giving your energy for them to obtain more. Find it within yourself. It's very complicated, we know, for the mind to understand. Because it's not about being alone either. It's don't covet what that other person, don't go after it because you feel you are lacking. Because you feel if you finally get what that other person has and reach that standard, then you will be of value. what the church did with the commandments has distorted them, rewritten them in some cases slightly, and distorted them. You hold them all within yourself, all of you. And you innately as children understand it. You understand you should not steal from someone, take something that doesn't. You understand you shouldn't kill someone. I mean, that's pretty practical, isn't it? They're not hard things to live by. And you have to look at the broad spectrum of it, because when they say thou shalt not steal, they mean energy, words, a lot of plagiarism goes on. A lot of people steal another person's patent, their inventions, etc. A lot of stealing goes on. But it's all done legally. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So all of this is going to unravel in 2023. How your governments have been stealing from you. Remember the kingdom of heaven, that means all those commandments unraveling within yourselves. This is a very long conversation. We're not going to make it terribly long, because we will be communicating about all of this in these groups, simply because we don't want to put this on a platform that others can hear that would use it. How we said to you, when you know the truth, when you know what the enemy is up to, you can counteract it. It's the same for the light. Yeah. So we will move on to something else now. Okay, so we said truth and freedom. Freedom brings what? The freedom to choose what you think, what you place in your body, what you eat, who you participate with, what you align with. Freedom is going to become extremely, extremely strong. There will be more riots in the streets, more protests. We said in one of our groups that, the Pope, there would be a situation now where you see that this Pope has died. But we will also say that the current one won't actually stay around either. This is a leading to. But also there will be political leaders that will leave in not very pleasant ways. We're not going to go into that, but they won't leave in pleasant ways. And when you hear, okay, there are many what you call truthers saying, this one's been killed. It's just a clone or something, or a mask or something like that. Yeah, well, what we're going to say to that is, the reason that some people would perceive that someone is killed, they're not there, they're not present anymore, is because in some way it's true. They are now a walk-in of something else. Their body still remains, they're a walk-in. And we've explained who we think is a walk-in before in these groups. But so yes, it's not that they are wrong in saying that person is no longer there, but something else has taken over their physical body, and that's why they are continuing to wreak havoc. So just as you can surrender to God's will and become a conduit of God's love, God's creation, as Jesus Christ was, you can also surrender to the devil and become a conduit of that reality. And we can tell you, many, many have. So they're not dead, they're not killed in Gitmo or something like that. They've been taken over. They are possessed. And that's why they are still doing these horrible things. It's not because they want to wake up the normies, as they're saying everywhere. It's still happening because they're waking up the normies. How ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous thing to say. No, they've been taken over. They're not waking up the normies, they're taking over the normies. And this year is the year that those normies are going to realize this. And it's not because there's a divine intervention, God's hand comes down and says, wake up everybody. No. It's because the frequencies are getting higher and the denial is getting less and weaker. You will see it. Anyone who is holding darkness, holding envy, selfishness, bitterness, revenge, it's all going to come to the surface and be exposed. It's going to come out of them. They will not, we said, you will not be able to push these things down. That's why people are going to go crazy in the streets. It's already started. It's going to actually amplify. We're not saying this to scare you. We're saying it as a reality. Let's think about, most of those that are listening to this are quite aware, right? So you said something or you did something against someone some time ago, and the guilt and the shame is eating you up to eventually you have to apologize. You have to, because it's just eating you up. Because as a light being, that darkness sitting within your energetic field, not your soul, but your energetic field, it can't be held there anymore. You have to release it. So you do. You ring that person, you apologize, you write a letter, or you apologize energetically, right? To release yourself. You ask for forgiveness, etc. And you make amends by no longer committing that act. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not what the church tells you it is. Oh, say 5 Hail Marys, 2 Our Fathers, and sin again tomorrow. No. Forgiveness is when you truly understand what you have done. You ask for forgiveness, whether it's to that person or not, and you choose consciously never to do that again. So, never to be tempted by the devil again. That's forgiveness. That's the truth. If you keep doing it and then asking forgiveness, that's really not. There's no clarity within your soul at that point. Nothing. You are not free of anything. Because you're continuing. Jesus said, forgive and sin no more. Sin no more. Do not do it again. Right? So, imagine that there are people who have done horrible things. Horrible things. So, they are sitting in an office somewhere. They see the paperwork. They see what's going on. They choose to be silent because they want to keep that weekly payment or what have you. It won't be able to sit in their soul for much longer. There are those that have given, let's say, medications that they know are not good. They know it, but they've chosen to do it to get that weekly payment. They've justified it in any way they can, repeating. I'm just keeping my job. I'm just doing what I'm told. I don't really know. Denial. Well, eventually that's all going to hit them energetically and they're going to scream through the streets, I can't stand myself anymore, and probably kill themselves, right? And then there are those that are working for the banking system that are also doing the same thing, stealing people's houses through nefarious ways. They're going to be screaming through the streets. There are those that have sold people for money. Oh, I never saw their faces. I don't have to connect with them. I don't really know who it is. I'm just the middleman. Nah, that's not going to sit well with this year. Because the kingdom of heaven is coming, meaning there are astrological frequencies opening up gateways of energy, pouring down onto the planet that are activating your cells to universal laws and truths. And that your cells, meaning your physical body, is going to come into alignment with these truths. And anything that is not in harmony with that will drive you crazy until you let it go. That's what's going on. So there will be more whistleblowers. There will be more people coming out and speaking the truth. There will be a lot more coming out that's going to give you freedom to express your truth. And when you go down to the bottom line of your truth, it's not petty. They earn $5 more than me. They have more land than I do. They have more carrots than I do. That's not your truth. Your truth is that each and every one of you, regardless of whether you're aligned to the dark or the light at this point, because some people are aligned to the dark and they don't even know it, because they're greedy, they want fame, they hunger for acknowledgement, and they will do anything to get it. And as they wake up and they realize that the truth is what they really want is connection. They want people to look at them with a smile and enjoy when they walk in the room. Hi, how are you? So good to see you. I always feel so good when you're around, right? What have you been up to? They want people to accept them. They want people to approve of them. And at the moment, those dark circles giving each other medals and accolades because they desire approval. Yeah, they desire acknowledgement. And when all of the so-called normies decide, we're not watching those awards anymore, we don't want to be part of this silliness, they will need to seek it in a different way. And they will have to figure out, how can I get it in a different way? You're going to be shocked when you discover what's really been going on behind the scenes. Shocked when you discover the deals, the dirty deals that have been made to keep you all poor, trapped, imprisoned. And as we said, truth and freedom is the theme of this year. So it's going to be a bit of a journey. The most important thing is to acknowledge your role in it. Connection to spirit, connection to yourself, connection to those that you love, connection to nature is going to become the foremost thing that you're all going to desire. There is plenty that's going to happen, plenty. We will talk about that in these groups. But for now, that's what we wanted to say the theme of this year is about. We know that the more that you connect, the easier it will be for you. The struggle that's going to happen has nothing to do with you if you are in alignment with yourself and God. It has nothing to do with you, and there's no reason you need to be in the fight. All you need to do is hold that truth. That's all you need to do. You do not need to challenge another in their lies. You don't need to convince another in your truth. Just be present, and your light will push out their shadow and their darkness, and they will have their own battle. So when you think of the dark night of the soul that many of you have gone through, think of it on a mass frequency. Because what happens when you go through the dark night of the soul? You're actually unburdening yourself of the darkness that has resided within you, sometimes for lifetimes. freedom. Release yourself from the grey, from the dark. Release yourself. Be honest with yourself. What do you really want? There are many telling you what you should want, what you need. Find out for yourself. So now we will leave you in our love and our light and our truth and our blessings. And we thank you for allowing us to share with you some of the insights. And we look forward to communicating with you in these groups. Goodbye for now. Bye.
Thank you.